Yeah, we're standing on the construction site here on Waterfront Drive in Winnipeg, Canada, on the future site of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. You can see in the background that this project is being worked on for about a year. I was actually at the architectural launch when they first showed the architectural design at the convention center back in May 2003, when they first announced this project by the Asper family. I actually got to meet Gail Asper, one of the funding arms, and the gal behind raising all the money for this museum project. It's in the range of about $200 to $300 million, which different levels of government contributing to it. You can see some of the stuff here at the museum is actually finished a little bit. You can see some red stone behind me. Apparently that's Tyndall stone, and that basically comes from the Manitoba Tyndall quarry. This museum is trying to incorporate as much Manitoba things as possible, such as grass, the Tyndall stone, other parts of the structure. There's going to be what's called the glass cloud, and there's actually a model that they've created, a scale model that you can get at the Travel Info Center, that basically shows a glass cloud, ground glass cloud, that the glass apparently is going to be coming from Germany. A special glass has been tested on different weather and cold conditions, and they have some steel beams here. I understand that are coming from Poland. This museum apparently is the largest structure, maybe PCL or any other construction companies worked in the world, about 265,000 square feet, including the museum itself and all the park area around it. That once all this stuff is gone and finished, they'll be planting grass and plants and all kinds of things around here. So you can see there's two cranes here right now. Apparently in about a week or so, I understand that they're going to be taking the two cranes down and putting a larger one up in the center of those two buildings, because they have to construct what's called the Tower of Hope. And they're going to be raising those cranes eventually to a maximum altitude of 400 feet. Right now they're 200 feet up, so they'll double the size and capacity. Apparently, once this museum is finished, it'll be one of the tallest structures in Winnipeg. To give you an idea, the CanWest Center, that green building over there, is 33 stories tall, and that currently is the largest, tallest structure in the city. It's finished to be pretty close to that. They are going to have an elevator that's going up into the Tower of Hope, and some stairs. If you feel brave enough to climb 23 or so stories up, you can. But they'll have that. But they're also going to have a lot of things like a restaurant in this area. They're going to have buses that can park here. There'll be no parking inside. They said all the parking is going to be across the street on the other side. I'm not sure they're going to expand the parking or not, but there'll be no public parking inside the complex. It will basically be parking across the street. So you can see that these construction workers, they're actually working on the weekend. I don't think that they work on the day off, so they work all the time, because they have to have this project on time. There's a lot of publicity about the project. I understand the actual of the what it looks like at the Olympic Games in Vancouver, the 20th Olympic Games. They had something of a model. They probably brought the scale model there too, but they've had a lot of publicity. They actually had a Manitoba Pavilion at the Olympics, 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, and they basically have the model there to give people an idea of what it's going to look like when it's all finished. In the world. I also read in a brochure that I got when I went to that architectural design launch that they said we haven't had a big national museum outside of Ottawa since 1967. So this would be the first one, it's many years ago, since 67, where they've actually had a national museum structure. I guess the reason Winnipeg is chosen here is because we have a lot of diverse culture in the city. I understand there's a lot of significance to land here because this was originally treaty land, and I understand that they actually buried some treaty items around the whole site to sort of bless the site. So there's a lot of significance to the Aboriginal people. This whole Forks area actually has a lot of significance to Aboriginal people. So I've been following this museum. I live in the downtown area, and I've been watching the progression ever since they broke ground to see how far they've come since last year when it was started. It's only been about a year or so that they've been working on the project. You can see how much they've got done and how much more is to go on the project. And apparently some of the people, apparently one of the managers from Ottawa, and after his weekday he flies back to Ottawa and he comes back during the week and works here. One of the tour guides I went on a tour, she said that at one point she hopes to be able to go behind the scenes of the project with a hard hat and get a tour where the public can't go. So maybe we'll just take a walk around now and I'll show you different other perspectives of the museum and you can get an idea on the scope and size of it. I'm standing on the construction site of the future project known as the Canadian Human Rights Museum, which has been launched about a year ago in early 2009. It's about mid-year 2010. You can see how far they've gone in the project. The only significant thing that you might see that's already incorporating part of Manitoba is the red Tyndallstone you see in the background. That red brickle, there's red Tyndallstone from somewhere in Manitoba, a quarry. They're trying to incorporate a lot of Manitoba elements into this museum. This idea was founded several years ago by the Asper family. Gail Asper, the daughter of Israel Asper, came up with the idea to create a museum, the 5th National Museum in Canada, the first national museum to be built since 1967 outside of Ottawa in Winnipeg, Canada, where we're located now. You can see that how far they've gone on this construction project. I see the big things up there and how much work they've done since about May 2009. This project is scheduled to be completed in 2012, but they haven't got an exact date yet. It was several years ago that I actually attended the architectural design when they launched the concept for this museum in an architectural design announcement by the Ralph Applebaum group, who were the architects on this museum. At that time they gave us a virtual walkthrough, a DVD was made, and I learned a lot about the museum. I got very excited. There's a lot of new technologies that are going to be incorporated into this museum too. So over the years, all the people have become involved in the project in various ways. You can see a couple of things I'm wearing that all of the proceeds by people purchasing these items, the pin you see me wearing, the t-shirt, 100% goes back to the Friends of the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, which I've actually been involved with in helping them sell these shine pins, and now I found out about the t-shirts. So I kind of like these projects because this is a human interest project. It's going to attract people all around the world, and there actually has a tour from Thursday to Sunday that they do if anybody wants to be educated more about this project. I live in the downtown area. I've been here 25 years from Alberta, so I've been following the progression of this museum project and basically all the stuff that's happening at the Forks. This is a big drawing card at the Forks. It attracts 2 million people a year to the Forks, so this is a very prominent place to put the museum because we get a lot of tourists here visiting, and I'm sure they'll want to visit the museum once it's open. And I just want to mention something else, that as soon, you see the 2 cranes above, they're about 200 feet above, they're actually going to be taking the 2 cranes down and they're going to be putting a gigantic one up. It's going to be doubling up to 400 feet above at some point. And they just have 1 crane between the 2 towers there. There's a lot of Aboriginal significance to the museum too because they've actually buried some medicine bags, 136 of them, into the foundations all around the museum. I learned that. And so this land was originally treaty land. It was also an archaeological dig. So this is a very special site. And I'm sure anybody around the world is going to be coming to visit the museum.